given that it was the result of an assassination from the air by Israel and by the United States.
So Piers Morgan just grilled economist Yanis Varoufakis on Iran and the Netanyahu war machine, and what came out exposes exactly how Trump's being manipulated into endless conflict. Varoufakis lived under Greek military dictatorship and knows how foreign intervention actually strengthens the regimes we claim to oppose. Let's break this down.
Let me put it this way. Take it from the perspective of people in Iran who were opposing the Ayatollah, who were opposing the regime, who were protesting for years, since, remember, 2018, even before that, the brutality that was practiced, especially against women.
The Iranian protest movement was massive, from the Green Revolution in 2009 to the Masa Amini protests that saw over 500 deaths in 2022. Millions demanded regime change from within. But here's the crucial point he's making. External bombing doesn't help internal opposition. It destroys it by rallying nationalist sentiment.
What happened was essentially the regime was given a major boost, a major morale boost. It became far more legitimate. Because, Piers, you and I have different backgrounds in the sense that I grew up in a very right-wing dictatorship. My father was abducted in the middle of the night by the secret police.
The Greek military junta ruled from 1967 to 1974. Secret police, torture, disappearances. His father was literally kidnapped by the regime. This isn't academic theory for him. He lived through what happens when dictatorships feel threatened by foreign powers. That personal experience makes his analysis incredibly credible.
People I know were tortured. Back then, we hated the regime in Athens, in the 1960s, 70s. But I tell you that if any foreign power, the Soviet Union, Britain, whoever, if they bombed us and killed the person we loathed, who happened to be ruling the land at the time, we would have felt just awfully conflicted. Firstly, because we would be upset that the government, which we opposed, was given the legitimacy that goes hand in hand with any government that is being taken out by a foreign leader unlawfully.
This is the nationalism trap that destroyed Iraq. Saddam was hated by millions, but the 2003 invasion turned him into a martyr, and Iraq into a failed state with over 400,000 dead. Foreign intervention doesn't weaken dictatorships. It legitimizes them and gives them excuses for brutal crackdowns.
And secondly, because, the supporters of the regime, and they were supporters of the regime when I was growing up, felt justified, morally justified, to suppress us. So, no, I don't think it.
Exactly right. Bombing creates the perfect excuse for martial law. The regime can now arrest any dissidents as foreign agents and traitors during wartime. The Iranian protests that were gaining momentum? Dead. The government just gained the ultimate justification for crushing internal opposition completely.
And indeed, if you think of it now, suppose you are a progressive, even somebody who's left-wing and who opposes the government of the new Khamenei Jr. What is your choice really now as the bombs are raining down on you? Really, I mean, realistically. The choice is either this government, this regime, a system that actually works. Not very well, but it works. I mean, it's not Libya. It's not Syria. It's not a failed state.
Look at Libya. Gaddafi overthrown in 2011. Now it's a slave-trading failed state. Syria has 500,000 dead and 13 million refugees. Iraq went from dictatorship to sectarian civil war. Iran actually functions as a state. Destroying that creates chaos, not democracy. The regime change playbook always fails.
It's a choice between a functioning government and Iran, which is torn apart, like Iraq was after the George W. Bush invasion. So, let's cut to the chase. An illegal war that is brought by a foreign power, which, by the way, has absolutely no moral authority to talk about democracy in Iran. Because it was in 1953 that the CIA and the United States overthrew the only functioning liberal democracy that Iran ever knew.
Operation Ajax in 1953. The CIA overthrew Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh because he nationalized oil. We literally destroyed Iranian democracy to protect British petroleum profits. That coup directly led to the Shah's dictatorship And then the 1979 Islamic Revolution. We created this mess.
On the one hand, you have Israel that has violated every nuclear proliferation or anti-proliferation treaty there is. Nobody's talking about the nuclear weapons that Israel has.
Well, they don't even admit having them, do they?
Indeed. So they've broken every rule and regulation. Nobody's talking about it. Now, Piers, I don't think that Iran wants to develop a nuclear weapon.
Israel has an estimated 90 nuclear warheads, submarines capable of second strike capability, and refuses to sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Iran, meanwhile, is actually in the NPT with legal enrichment rights. The hypocrisy is staggering. We ignore Israel's illegal weapons while threatening Iran for legal activities.
My understanding of what the Iranian government wants is they want to maintain their sovereign right to enrich uranium so that, if needs be, they can have a bomb. But they don't want to have a bomb because they've seen what happened.
It's called threshold capability, having the technical ability to build nukes quickly if needed. Japan could build nuclear weapons in months, but chooses not to. Look what happened to Libya's Gaddafi. Gave up nukes in 2003, got overthrown in 2011. Nuclear deterrence prevents regime change.
Because that deal, you will recall, included extremely arduous verification processes. All the Iranian facilities would have been open for inspection by international inspectors. There would be cameras, there would be sensors, there would be everything that is necessary in order to trust and verify.
The JCPOA required Iran to reduce uranium stockpiles by 98%, allowed unlimited inspections, and installed real-time monitoring. Even Israeli intelligence confirmed Iran was complying. Trump destroyed this successful deal in 2018 purely despite Obama. Now Iran has more enriched uranium than ever.
Ironically, isn't it terribly ironic that if you think about it, the best that Donald Trump can get now is something like that agreement that Obama had already struck with the Iranians and the Europeans, and the Germans were really very, very gung-ho about it, including Angela Merkel, the chancellor at the time, and which then Donald Trump, the moment he was elected, not because he had any strong opinions about this, he just wanted to bring down anything that Obama had done, and it was a direct request by Israel.
Trump's Iran policy was pure Netanyahu manipulation and Obama hatred. The deal was working perfectly, but Israel wanted it destroyed to maintain regional military dominance. Now Trump's stuck trying to recreate the same agreement he stupidly tore up, except Iran's position is much stronger.
Iran is the only country that has not invaded any of its neighbors. It was invaded brutally by Iraq. That invasion saw 600,000 people die in Iran. Chemical weapons were used with the acknowledgement of support or, turning a blind eye of the West.
During the Iran-Iraq War, the U.S. gave Saddam Hussein satellite intelligence, weapons, and chemical weapons components. We helped him gas Iranian troops and civilians. 500,000 Iranians died. Iran hasn't invaded anyone since 1738. Meanwhile, the U.S. has bombed over 30 countries since World War II.
Here you have an unlawful war started by Israel and by the United States. It's a criminal war. Anybody who tells me that the right solution to that is for the United States and Israel to win is essentially telling me that they have no concern at all about international law, and they would like to see the violators of international law be the victors. I can't see that.
If we abandon international law whenever it's convenient, we're back to pure imperialism where might makes right. The UN Charter prohibits exactly what Israel and the US are doing. Accepting this sets a precedent that any powerful country can bomb weaker ones and claim self-defense.
But the only explanation I can have, because I'm equally puzzled, is that, Netanyahu has a single-minded commitment to never-ending war, to permanent war, because it's his way of staying in power, and it's his way of continuing the ethnic cleansing of the West Bank. That's the only thing he cares. So while you and I and everybody else were talking about Iran or Greenland or South Lebanon, he can continue his dirty deed in East Jerusalem, in West Bank, and stay in power, keep clinging on power in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
Netanyahu faces corruption charges for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, potential prison time. War keeps him in power through the rally around the flag effect. While everyone focuses on Iran, Israeli settlers have seized more West Bank land in 2024 than any year since 1993. War provides perfect cover.
If you join us in bombing Tehran and we get rid of the leadership of Iran in the same way that Israel got rid of the leadership of Hezbollah or of Hamas, then, there will be a revolution, a popular revolution, and you just need to sit back in your armchair in the White House and watch the Iranian government collapse. That is the only thing that makes sense to me.
This is the same fantasy that drove Iraq WMDs. Bomb them and democracy magically appears. Iran has 85 million people, a functioning state, and a history of resisting foreign domination going back centuries. The idea that bombing Tehran creates liberal democracy is pure delusion, but Netanyahu's selling it perfectly.